Hello, my name is Zachary. Today my global issue is about population and Malthus's population theory. We do know there's about 6 billion people living on the Earth, and I may know that population issue may be a serious challenge for us to face. But how many visible details can you imagine for this situation? First, let's see a picture. It shows that a large scale of slum building on the surface of the sea. It is really a grand view that people can live underwater. However, it is also horrible for people living there. Narrow space, the boundless scale of the town. People may not even afford to build their small room on the land. And welcome to the Lagos, the biggest city in Nigeria. It is also one of the biggest slums in the world. Population projected here was about 25 million in 2017. From this angle, it's already detailed enough for us to think about people's daily condition in this huge slum. No clean water, no automatic water system, no underground sanitation system. People cannot enjoy health care or police service at all. If we provide a satellite map of this city, you can see how surprisingly expansion of the city have in the last 50 years. The whole gray area in this map is how Lagos looks like nowadays, and the red zone was it was 50 years ago. Extreme poverty, drastic population explosion, such trend in Nigeria was not a real case. In 1960, Nigeria's population was 42.5 million and estimated at 182.2 million in 2015, which means that it increased about 3 times in 56 years. It is predicted that Nigeria's population will increase to about 400 million by 2015. And when we look to the whole African continent, the situation is not optimistic as well. If we draw a age chart for African population, we will get a triangle shape. The base, which represents teenagers and young people, they are actually the majority of their population. As you see, 30% of population is under the age of 25, and sub-Saharan population is projected to double by 2015. When we look around the world, slump has become a really serious problem. Food security, water supply, salary, public order, and plague can all become potential risks to kill millions of people. In this map, Nigeria is not even the worst country with highest percentage of population living in the slums. There are still some countries in the world that have deeper red mark. Besides that, Nigeria's poverty problem is not even the worst level either. As you see on this map, the mark of the people who live in the slums and people in poverty is really similar, which means that the slum will be a very major resource of people who live in the poor. So, now we are curious, what may cause such terrible situation for these people? Basically, the problem is that those developing countries' social developments failed to catch up population growth, as well as the basic living condition of many new population are not granted. And any kinds of these two features may cause the potential huge humanitarian disaster. So, when we talk about population issue, we cannot avoid mentioning Thomas Robert Malthus. He was a presenter of Malthusian population theory. His theory contained three basic hypotheses. The first is food is necessary for human survival, which is very basic. And the second, sexual desire is inevitable and will always remain. It means that it's our animal nature to keep making babies once we are fed. And the third hypothesis is that the population grew in geometric series, while our consumption goods only grew in arithmetic series. If we draw our XY plotter to present this kind of situation, we shall mark the x line as time and the y line as quantity. Population will grow in arithmetic series, but production of food can only grow in a more stable trend. By that, what the true line meant, the point was called Malthusian catastrophe. It was when production of food can exactly meet the population need. It is obvious that population can grow much faster than production of food. Before this point, the production of food are higher than the population amount. But after this point, you can see there are much more population beyond the production of food line. So what will happen to the population beyond in the gap which beyond the production of food? But why will our population grow in a geometric way? Think of the first generation we have for two people. They become a couple. They decide to have two children. And their total number was 4. What about the third generation? Yeah, because people will also continue to have children. The number will be doubled. And the fourth will be 16, fifth will be 32, and it's going on. So the total population will grow very rapidly, like the explosion way. In Malthusian's view, the fertility of the dominant population is restrained by poverty and evil, so that the real population can be balanced. War, famine, plague can all kill those rest population to force a balance to come back to a more natural and relative balanced point. If Malthusian is right, then food security will already become some potential risk to kill billions of people. In this map, most of the developing world, the hungry population is already struggling in the overload operation of resources system. Once any kind of catastrophe happens, people like those living in the slum of Lagos will face horrible challenges for survival. The casualty rate of all previous world wars may not even to cover the Malthusian population trip that people may die at this time. Besides that, consumption productivity is not always stable and increase like the straight line. Any other features like war, famine, caused by human or natural disaster will always make the actual situation more dynamic. And influenced by this, the population growth will always become much more dynamic. So now we should care about is that what we can do to avoid this. The first strategy is contraception measures. A survey conducted in 2013 showed that the percentage of women who use contraception is only 15% in Nigeria. In the cities, the numbers are 3 times more than those in the countryside. In the northwest states of Nigeria, this number is not more than 2. So, as you see, the lack of contraception measures is a serious trouble. If the popularity of contraception tools can go higher, population control will be much more accessible. Besides that, another issue is about the country's development plan. Industrialization and the technological revolution broke the bottleneck of productivity, which can provide much more consumption for our growing population. But on the other side, there are also some limitations of Malthus's controversial theories. First, it encourages social Darwinism, which means that rich regard the poor law as an intolerable burden for poor people who are doomed to be declined in the Malthusian population crisis because they cannot have more resources than they afford. If we denied such kind of social class that the divisions of the resources are not fair, we are actually getting rid of the responsibility and obligation of the rich. And this kind of problem also suits developing world and developing countries, for some of the politicians don't believe that the developing countries should help developing world to grow their economic. Another problem is that it ignored industrial revolution. The industrialization brought many developed world industrialized population, and therefore their productivity also grew in geometric series. The population grew in geometric series is also not 100% correct. For the cost of raising children nowadays in modern society was really high, and people may not want to have as much babies as possible. For example, like their investment in education, their investment in entertainment, and such of kind of features will lead this trend to the opposite side, which will also cause a population aging crisis instead. Also, technology revolution can also bring the consumption explosion in a geometric series. As you see, India slipped to the brink of fame in 1961. But by using new breeding chemical fertilizer, the country increased rice production by 10 times and lifted India out of fame and increased its population by 700 million people instead. So, besides that, large population will not always be negative. The consumption nowadays can be quite plenty to fulfill so much population, such like phones or other electric products. Besides that, the labor supply will be much more plenty to help the economic developed. If we look more widely, it's not hard to find that actually worldwide productivity are strong enough to offer everyone basic living demand. Dealing with the disruption of social wealth, trade imbalance can ensure that extra population will not be eliminated by the Malthusian population trap. So, as a conclusion, what Malthusian theory can offer us to nowadays? Simply, it offers a kind of developing production to avoid the Malthusian point. Also, it points out that population doesn't equal to economic growth. Only industrialization brought a significant change to consumption goods. In economics, this theory provides a real understanding of balance of consumption and supply. Besides, it reminds worldwide governments that the potential risk of our population explosion, and this population explosion must meet the consumption of our productivity. Well, that's a topic I wanted to talk about today. Thanks for watching. Here's a reference of my video. Thank you.